Hey guys, what's up? Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This one's topic, when will we see Unicron in the Transformers cinematic universe? Unicron in the live-action Transformers films on the big screen. A lot of us have been wondering what this would be like ever since probably about 2007. But thanks to a topic suggestion by user Gracie Lying about Unicron's role in the Transformers film, it got me to thinking about Unicron in general, and I'll get to that question about the role later in the video. But for now, as to the question of whether we will even see Unicron in the films, I think it's highly probable at this point. I mean, when it was just the trilogy, even when the first film ended and we still had those two other ones and people were thinking Unicron was going to appear in either one, I was always leaning toward no because he would just be such a big undertaking, especially at that time, and they had so many other ideas to go to, there was really no reason to jump to Unicron just yet in just 3 films. But now, of course, they've not only expanded the movie into a second trilogy, but also into a bigger world beyond Autobots, Decepticons, Cybertron, and Earth. I mean, we could even see stuff happening in space in the future films, but they've also talked about spin-off films happening, so there's definitely a lot of different directions they're going to be taking with the future films, spin-off or the sequels. I mean, I do think it was Bay or someone else involved in the making of the films said that they didn't really like the idea of Unicron, maybe that he was boring or that it would be hard to put him on the big screen, but I think with potentially 3 more Transformers films coming, it would be really hard to get away with not having Unicron in there. I mean, how long can it just be Optimus versus Galvatron and whatever new Decepticons come along? Now, we may see new ideas with the creators and some really interesting designs, but I think everyone is going to eventually want to see Unicron in some form or the other. Now, when will we see him? I think it will still be a little while till that happens. I'm expecting a lot of building up towards Unicron. I expect that we won't see much of him in Transformers 5, though potentially alluded to that there's some greater threat out there, even if it's not even mentioned to be Unicron. And maybe we'll even see him briefly, sort of like they did with Thanos in Age of Ultron. It seems very possible that Transformers 5 and the spin-off film, which may be a prequel film, will have something to do with Unicron. And then, he'll have his massive debut in Transformers 6, where Unicron and his heralds will probably be the main villains as opposed to the Decepticons or even the creators, who, in my opinion, will probably be separate from Unicron. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, you could go to Transformers 5, Who Are the Creators, which should be linked right in the video there. So how will they handle Unicron when they bring him in, and what role will he have in the films? This brings me to the user's original question, and that was whether or not I think the films are going to build him up to be the leader of the Decepticons. I actually don't think this is going to be the case in the Transformers movies, and I'm kind of hoping against it as well. I do think he'll have some connection with the Transformers history, whereas in the original 1986 film, it kind of just felt like he was some random alien planet thing. But I don't believe his connection's going to be exclusive to the Decepticons. I mean, in Transformers history, this also hasn't really been the case. As I already said, I don't think in the G1 or Beast Wars continuity he really had anything to do with them in particular. In Armada he wasn't. He did have a significant connection to the Transformers, but that would require spoilers. In Prime, it's been a while and there's a lot of plot points in Prime, so I don't remember so well, but I think he was kind of just his own entity there. And in some of the comic verses, I think he inspired the character of the Fallen to eventually create the Decepticons, but he wasn't a Decepticon himself. Speaking of the Fallen, we've already seen the Decepticons unite with him in the Transformers film, so they've already come together with some ancient leader. Them doing that again with Unicron would feel like the same thing. Also, Autobots versus Decepticons is really overdone, but them needing to work together perhaps to fight against Unicron would be a really cool idea. It would indeed be different, and we've seen that in previous Transformers renditions. So depending on how they do it, it could be a nice homage. The way I'm looking at it right now, I suspect that not even the creators really have anything to do with Unicron. If they are the Quintessons, I would think, if anything, maybe they're capturing Optimus because they have some plan to stop Unicron. Maybe they're going to even bring in some Energon influence where the Quintesson type character known as Alpha Q in that story was against Unicron because Unicron had devoured their planet in the past. So I think that's more likely, that we could see the creators being the bad guys in Transformers 5, but then we find out maybe they really aren't that evil. Maybe they are, who knows, but obviously Unicron is ultimately on top and not really connected with them. I do think it would be really cool if Unicron had his own faction, such as the Heralds of Unicron. This would not only introduce a new aspect of Transformers lore into the films, but it would also give us a chance to see some really unique looking designs, depending on how they did it. However, it would be really cool to see some Decepticons and maybe even some Autobots join up with Unicron, because maybe they're secretly Unicron worshippers, or they just want to join with the guy who's going to be on top. I don't want to spoil anything about Armada, but that does happen with one of the Decepticon characters, and it was quite ironic to see how things ended for that character, who hasn't been in the films as of now, so maybe there's potential to bring him in. Then obviously a big part of them bringing Unicron into the films would be, how would they market this guy? I think it's more difficult than it was, say, in the time of Armada, because we're kind of accustomed to having huge figures. We've had Metroplex, and we're going to be getting Devastator this summer, so if they're going to want to impress fans, they're going to have to make this guy enormous. And who knows what could happen till we see Unicron. We might start getting figures bigger than Devastator, like if they make someone such as Trypticon or Fortress Maximus. Now, I'm hoping they don't just keep getting bigger and bigger with these guys, because it becomes a slippery slope and it creates issues for characters like Unicron. You know, if they want to make Unicron, I don't think they necessarily have to make him the biggest Transformer ever, because he isn't going to be in scale with the other figures, no matter what way you do it. So it would be nice to see a big Unicron figure, but I don't think we need to see something that's like 6 feet tall to be impressive. I think it might also be harder to market Unicron because he is a bad guy. This might not be as big of a problem in the Generations toy line because it mainly is made to appeal to the older fan base, and of course they're going to be fine with that, where the common notion is that the younger fan base mainly likes characters who are good guys. Just look at the release of Autobot characters as opposed to Decepticon characters, especially in Age of Extinction. Now, that's not to say it's the case with all younger fans, it definitely isn't, but that seems to be the marketing strategy. So, I don't know how they'll handle Unicron. Hopefully they wouldn't pull off a 1986 and not give us a figure at all. But the integration of this guy into the toy line and the films would definitely be interesting to see. Anyways, that wraps up my thoughts on this matter. You guys can leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think we'll see Unicron in the cinematic universe? If so, in which film will he appear? Or do you even want to see Unicron in these films? Maybe you think he is a boring idea and would rather them toy with some other things in Transformers lore. Along with your thoughts on this subject, drop off any topic suggestions or news stories on Transformers 5. There's a lot of them going around right now, so a lot of stuff to talk about. You can also follow me on Twitter for more news and discussion on Transformers 5 and general Transformers stuff. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this one. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and have a good one, guys.